Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Garbage to Gold podcast. I'm your host, Joe Davis. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and keep watching. Share this podcast with your friends. Share my videos on your social media. Follow me on social media, all that good stuff. I got a lot of things that I want to talk to you guys about today. NAR has been in a lawsuit. There's been an NAR lawsuit going on for, I don't know, over a year now, it seems like. Basically, if you're not familiar with this, what it is, it's basically changing the way people pay commission whenever they sell their home. So I think it was at the end of 2022, beginning of 2023. Obviously, we all know when COVID come around in 2020, real estate prices went crazy, interest rates dropped, people started to buy property because it was real cheap to buy a home. And anytime you get that massive amount of demand met with a short supply, obviously basic economics, prices go up. All right. So I'm a real estate professional. I am a licensed real estate agent, broker in the state of Missouri. Now, I hate being a real estate agent. I hate being a real estate broker. It was fun while it lasted. I got in 2016 before the crazy COVID pricing. Before the market really took off. And it was already crazy before that. People couldn't believe the prices, back then. They couldn't believe they couldn't believe the interest rates. They couldn't believe, the prices that people were paying for houses back then. And I mean, I wish I could go back to 2016 and buy a house. I'd buy 150 of them. But anyway, so when I first got in, and most of my career up until basically today, what happens is when you sell your house, typically you would hire a real estate agent. Now, you don't have to hire an agent to sell your home. This is kind of a major misconception. A lot of people think that you have to use an agent to sell your home and that you have to pay them commission. Not entirely true. And we'll get into that here in just a minute. So, typically in a real estate transaction, if you're just a typical home seller, you're not an investor, nothing like that. You're just a regular old guy or woman. And you want to sell your house. Typically you would hire a real estate agent and, they come and they put it on the market for you. So basically what that is they put the property on the MLS, which then goes on Zillow. And then there's some other little places that they can put it to kind of draw in some more buyers, like Craigslist and realtor.com, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, shit like that. But the majority of the homes that are bought in this country from the beginning of time have been bought, off of the MLS. And nowadays, I would say that most of the properties that people buy, most of the homes anyway that people are buying are coming from Zillow. People get on Zillow or realtor.com. I would say Zillow. I think that's the number one. Everybody knows Zillow. You get on Zillow, you see a house, and you call them up, and typically that will put you in contact with an agent in your area. And most likely, and this is important, most likely if you call through Zillow, you're going to get a buyer's agent. You're not going to get the listing agent. Okay, because that's how Zillow has their shit set up. If you call on a property and you say contact agent, something along those lines, you're gonna get just a random buyer's agent. Now, no big deal up until today, or up until this lawsuit comes out. So, about a year ago, some people in Missouri filed a lawsuit, an antitrust lawsuit, and basically saying that they shouldn't have paid the amount of commission that they signed up for and paid for, okay? So typically, when you sell a home, you're going to pay 6% commission. Now, that 6% of your purchase price, whatever your home sells for, you're automatically losing 6% directly to whatever agents were involved in the sale. So you list your property, Okay. You don't just pay the listing agent or the listing company. You pay them, and then they take the rest of that 6%. They take their half, whatever that is, whatever they get, whatever's in their contracts. They take a portion, which is typically a little over 3%, and then the rest of it goes to a buyer's agent. Okay. If there was a buyer agent, which typically on like 90% of the sales in the United States, they have a listing agent and a buyer agent. Okay. Dual agency is when one agent or one company handles the buyer and seller side of a real estate transaction. And then they typically will give the seller a little bit of a discount on commissions since it all stays in-house and there wasn't another company involved. But anytime you have two companies involved selling a house, they're going to, charge you 6% so that they can compensate all the people involved. Because if you have two companies, typically you're going to have, the listing agent, their broker, and then the buyer's agent and their brokers. That's 4 people, and they're all wanting their cut. So this lawsuit comes out and, ever since I've been an agent, it was very commonplace to tell your sellers that, hey, we charge 6% because of, that covers our expenses, our marketing, what yada, yada, yada. And it helps compensate, the buyers, agents, and, because that's probably who we're going to work with to get this home sold. And you want to make sure that, we're marketing to everybody. Because if you're not going to, offer a commission to the buyers, that in theory is going to deter people from wanting to buy your house. Now, that's not in any way, shape, or form true. It might for some people, but there's people who sell their house without using agents, period, and it happens all the time. It's not hard to do. You can list your house on Zillow today and sell it tomorrow. Like if you're in it if it's for the right price, if you price it accurately, somebody gonna buy it. So this whole commission thing is kind of ridiculous. To tell people or to make people feel like they have a less chance of selling their house by not offering that extra 2-3% to a buyer's agent. It's just not realistic. Now, it does suck, if you're an agent, because most agents are, that's where they make their money is working with buyers. I fucking hate working with buyers. Always hated working with buyers. I honestly didn't like any part of being an agent. And, I don't want to go on a big tangent or anything, but dude, I paid my NAR dues this year, but it's the last year I'm doing it. I'm not doing it again. I think NAR is kind of bullshit. That's just my personal opinion. I just don't see any reason to pay these people what we pay them, and get what we get for that. I think NAR is just kind of like a monopoly on the real estate industry. I kind of thought that NAR would protect us from some of these tech companies like Zillow, kind of creeping in on our business and kind of trying to put us out of business, which is exactly what Zillow is trying to do and will eventually do completely. There's a lot, and it's not just Zillow. There's a lot of big tech companies entering the real estate space, and agents are under direct attack. Their whole way of making a living is, in jeopardy by these large companies moving in and doing what they're doing. It's just a fact. And this lawsuit is not going to do anyone any favors. This is pretty much the end of the buyer agent. If you're a real estate agent right now, you need to get really damn good at listing property or you're not going to have a job. Because guess what? Ain't nobody paying buyer commissions no more. And you can't, you're not going to be able to go in and, rely on, a listing agent encouraging their sellers to pay this extra added cost. Now, the idea, and I've heard some people say that they think that this is going to bring home prices down and make it more affordable to sell a house or make it more affordable for buyers to buy a house. I don't think so. I think it has potential to do that, but will it actually? Probably not. Okay? Probably not. Because I mean, if you're an agent and somebody contacts you and wants to buy a house, you basically have to explain to them that they have to pay you out of pocket, because that seller's not gonna cover that cost anymore. And in reality, they never had to. They were just, it was kind of like pitched to you as a seller by your agent that it was a good idea to just go ahead and pay that added cost, because it was going to make it more likely for you to sell your house. But in reality, there was never anything stating that by law they had to pay that. But now cat's out of the bag. No one's going to pay that added cost anymore. I wouldn't. But so yeah, I mean, if you're a buyer agent, it's you need to start learning really, really good how to list houses or how to invest. That's what I do now. I said, fuck all this, buyer seller bullshit, listing houses, bending over backwards for people just to get fucked over. Anybody that's been an agent for any amount of time knows exactly what I'm talking about. I just got fed up, and luckily for me, I started investing and was making good money doing that. And it just became less appealing for me to want to, take calls from people that just wanted to go look at houses on a Saturday or on a Tuesday afternoon. Like, I got other shit I want to do. I don't want to drive, 10, 15 minutes out of my way, let you into a house and, for you to go, oh, okay, cool. Well, we'll let you know if we decide to, write a contract or anything. And then you never hear from them people again. And it's like, all right, cool. I just paid Zillow X amount of dollars to get that lead. And, it's fucking ridiculous. I got tired of it. Putting in all that time and effort, it just wasn't worth it for me anymore. And investing was a 10 times better return on the money and effort and energy. A lot of people don't even think about it like that. They think about it only from like a financial standpoint. Like, investing in real estate is so much better because of the time and energy. Like, if you're going to put your time and energy towards something, weigh it out. Like, putting your time and energy toward building a rental portfolio that will pay you residually for the rest of your life, or putting all your time and energy towards these people who, don't give a fuck, and dealing with the general public who is, essentially brainless. And, these people shit on you. And one little thing that you do that they don't like, they can badmouth you and, potentially try to hurt your career. And it was just like, you're always under the gun, always at risk of, somebody just getting pissed off at you for no reason and, going around and badmouthing you to all your peers and saying that, basically putting your career and your ability to make money for your family at risk, just to make themselves feel better, just because they didn't get what they wanted, just because they didn't understand, what was really going on. You're trying to explain contracts to people that don't deal with contracts. They don't know anything about them. Contracts are serious, obviously, but like some people just like, they freak the fuck out. Like, they just can't handle it. Like, they look at it like it's a life or death. And, it's not that severe. But anyway, yeah. So I'm going to pull up, an article right quick. Let's see what they're saying. So, I'm just going to type in NAR. So go a little bit more in depth on this, on the settlement and on the lawsuit. So here's kind of, what they're saying. The 6% commission on buying or selling a home is gone. That was according to CNN. NAR agrees to change commission structure to settle lawsuit. Washington Post. Real estate stocks drop as NAR agrees to $418 million settlement. That was Business Insider. National Association of Realtors agrees to slash commissions to settle the lawsuit, according to New York Times. Buying a home, realtor commissions could shrink after legal settlement. USA Today. National Association of Realtors to cut commissions to settle lawsuit. CBS News. All right, so we're just going to pull up the most recent one. This is the National Association of Realtors right here. Why did NAR enter into this settlement? Actually, you know what? I'm going to pull up the New York Times article. This is 4 hours ago. Let's see what they say. Just going to read it verbatim, because I'm not super familiar. Like, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a legal professional. And I'm also not a fucking journalist. I'm just a guy who sells real estate, invests in real estate, and has a podcast. And I'm not a genius. So I'm just going to sit here and kind of give you guys the gist of what's going on here. All right, American homeowners could see a significant drop in the cost of selling their homes. I don't know about all that. After a real estate trade group agreed to a landmark deal that will eliminate a bedrock of the industry, the standard 6% sales commission. I could see that, that probably going away. I would almost guarantee that a lot of agents are going to still push for 6% just because they're fucking greedy. And hey, why not? If the seller's dumb enough to pay you 6% to sell their house, hey, that's an extra 3% in your pocket. You ain't paying the fucking buyer's agent. But, most good people will probably, adjust that 6% to a good 2 or 3%, that's fair. The National Association of Realtors, a powerful organization, a monopoly, and that is exactly what they are, that has set the guidelines for home sales for decades, has agreed to settle a series of lawsuits by paying $418 million in damages and by eliminating its rule on commissions. The legal counsel for NAR approved this agreement early Friday morning. The New York Times obtained a copy of the signed document. The deal, with which lawyers anticipate will be filed within weeks and still needs a federal court's approval, which it will get. Let's see the full article. Would end a multitude of legal claims from home sellers who argue that the rules forced them to pay excessive fees. They weren't exactly forced, but they definitely, like I said earlier in the video, you're not legal. There's nothing in the law that states you have to pay a buyer's commission. But agents are kind of like, I don't really want to say twisting your arm, but they are, they spin it to you. They present it to you like, hey, your house isn't going to sell if you don't pay this. And it's just not true. The deal, which in a statement released on Friday morning, Nakia Wright, the interim chief executive of NAR, said, "It has always been our goal to preserve consumer choice and protect our members to the greatest extent possible. This settlement achieves both of those goals." Anyway, yeah, you guys make of that what you want. I don't think they just eliminated half of their members. I mean, what's a buyer agent going to do now? You got to learn how to list, So, good luck. This will blow up. Housing experts said the deal and the expected savings for homeowners could trigger one of the most significant jolts in the U.S. housing market in 100 years. This will blow up the market and would force a new business model, said Norm Miller, a professional emeritus of real estate at the University of San Diego. Americans pay roughly $100 billion in real estate commissions annually, and real estate agents in the United States have some of the highest standard commissions in the world. In many other countries, commission rates hover between 1% and 3%. In the United States, most agents specify a commission of 5 or 6% paid by the seller. If the buyer has an agent, the seller's agent agrees to share a portion of the commission with that agent when listing the home on the market. An American homeowner currently looking to sell a $1 million home should expect to spend up to $60,000 on real estate commissions alone, with 30% going to the listing agent and 30% or $30,000 going to the agent who brings the buyer. Yeah, it's pretty close to that. 6%. So yeah. Let's see. The lawsuits argued that NAR and brokerages who required their agents to be members of NAR had violated antitrust laws by mandating that the seller's agent make an offer of payment to the buyer's agent and setting rules that led to an industry-wide standard commission. Without that rate essentially guaranteed, agents will now most likely have to lower their commissions as they compete for business. Economists estimate that commission could now be reduced by 30%, driving down home prices across the board. The opening of a free market for realtor compensation could mirror the shakeup that occurred in the travel industry when the emergence of online broker sites such as Expedia and Kayak. The forces of competition will be let loose, said Benjamin Brown, co-chairman of the antitrust practice at Cohen Milstein and one of the lawyers who hammered out the settlement. You'll see some new pricing models and some new and creative ways to provide services to home buyers. It'll be really exciting time for the industry. Yeah, I don't know about all that bullshit. Make of it what you will. But here's the thing. Yeah. I think you're going to see home prices stay the same. I don't think that it's going to make buying a house any cheaper, honestly. It's probably going to help selling a house because, the seller's not going to have to pay a buyer's agent. Okay, no one's going to do that. So, but if you're a buyer and now you have to work directly with a listing agent, that can be, problematic because the listing agent has a fiduciary, like their main responsibility is to the homeowner, not to you. So you're just the buyer coming in and you're trying to get the best deal you possibly can. The listing agent's going to be less likely. It's just a tough position for the listing agent to be in because now they have to represent both of you. And that means that both parties are now going to get a less representation because you have to be there for both parties, and you can't be there the same way for both parties. So it actually takes away from both parties from a representation standpoint. I've done dual agency a couple of times in my life. Never had a problem. Seller was happy. They got what they wanted. Buyer got what they wanted. But you got to think about it, now that the buyers, with this new lawsuit, things are going to definitely be different because there will be no buyer agent anymore. So you're going to have to sell, or buyers are going to have to go and deal directly with the seller and their agent. And so it'll be interesting. Hopefully it will bring prices down. I just don't see it. And I don't think I could see it also not really lowering the price to sell a home either. I could still see a lot of agents demanding 6% just because it's like, hey, cool. You've been paying 6% forever. And now the listing agent's going to, keep more of that money. Like I was saying, with the NAR settlement deal, I almost forgot. Since I'm a licensed agent broker in the state of Missouri, I actually got an email this morning directly from the NAR. And even though I'm not a fan of NAR, I don't agree with the money that I have to pay them. And I think that they're overall just kind of a monopoly. And I think it would be better if they were broken up. And, who knows, whether or not this lawsuit would have been as huge if NAR was there, whether it was not there, but they did kind of do us. Here's the one thing that I can say that is good about this situation, as far as the lawsuit. There's a part in here from NAR, and it says this proposed settlement achieves both of those goals. So let me go back. From the beginning of this litigation, NAR had two goals: secure a release of liability for as many of our members, associates, and MLSs as we could, and preserve the choices consumers have regarding real estate services and compensation. Okay, the first one is what I'm going to, kind of speak on. The second one, I don't really care. So this proposed settlement achieves both of those goals. Here are the key terms, and this is what I'm not going to read all of these because they're not really all that important to the video, and it's a relatively long email, and I don't want to waste your time. But this is what, this is kind of the key piece of information. This is what affects, I think, in my opinion, me the most, and this is kind of, NAR doing me a solid. The agreement would release NAR, over 1 million NAR members, all state, territorial, and local realtor associations, all association-owned MLSs, and all brokerages with an NAR membership as principal that had a residential transaction volume in 2022 of $22 billion or below. So basically, if you were a brokerage that had less than $2 billion in sales volume for 2022, you are not on the hook for any of the financial compensation. So meaning that, these people that are suing NAR, they can't come after like me individually and get money out of me, which that's pretty awesome. And that was actually something I was, kind of afraid of when this lawsuit had first come out. I was like, what if, all the people that I sold houses to during, during COVID, essentially, what if they all come back and make me give my money back or even more? That would suck. I ain't got that kind of money to give back. All right. I do all right, but so yeah, that's probably the most important part of this, from my perspective, as far as, a solid, a positive takeaway, because in all honesty, this whole thing sucks. It's going to really shake up our industry. It's going to change the way a lot of people do business. It's probably going to put a lot of people, individual people out of business. I wouldn't say that it's going to, put out, any big brokerages or brokerages are going to start dropping like flies immediately. I think that's something that's just going to steadily happen over time. As the market just gets tougher and tougher. We kind of have to see how this is all going to roll out, see how well people adapt to it. Buyer agents can still make money, obviously. It's just, I think what's going to hurt buyer agents the most is just that now it's in the minds of everybody. Anybody who's selling a house and has paid any sort of attention to this, this verdict. I mean, this is all over national news. Anytime somebody sells a house, they're gonna know in their mind that they're not gonna pay that buyer commission. It's gonna be very rare for a seller to just go, yeah, sure, I'll pay it. It can obviously be negotiated, and that's how it's always was. And it's really, it's changing, but like I said earlier, it's not really changing because there was never a law that said that sellers had to pay the buyer agent. It just kind of over time became an industry standard because it happens so often. At least in my perspective, that's how I see it. But yeah, I just wanted to read that email. And the release of liability. So basically all the smaller brokerages, because there were some, the huge brokerages, paid the price in this deal. And that's, kind of sucks. But small guys like me, like I'm a one-man show. I had an agent that worked for me. But like I said, I do mostly just investing now, and that's got nothing to do with any of this for the most part. But, that would really suck if, they sued us for, even if it was this $400 million or like the $2 billion or whatever the total numbers were, if the people who filed this lawsuit all just started coming after individual brokers, or they come out and said, hey, if you sold your house, in 2022, you may be entitled to financial compensation. And then all they had to do was say, well, I bought a house from Joe Davis, and their attorney goes, all right, well, we're going to take him to court. And then all them houses that I sold, which was like 25, 30, now I'm giving all my money back on all that shit. That would suck because I've done spent that money. But anyway, so yeah, that's a positive. That's the one silver lining in this whole thing for me.